There's a pattern that I have been witnessing a lot lately in my clinical practice. People report that they have been sleeping, but they're still waking up exhausted, or they feel wired at night, they can't get to sleep, and they're drained in the morning. Others say they have problems falling asleep in general, or their sleep is light, it's fragmentative, it's just not restorative. No matter what, they just feel drained. And it's not just about sleep and energy. They're also experiencing things like brain fog, low motivation. Their energy is crashing even more in the afternoons. They have difficulty concentrating. There's increased stress sensitivity, and they just feel like their brain is stuck. If this is something that you can relate to, you're going to want to pay attention because when all of these symptoms cluster together, it's not just random stress, but it might be dismissed as it by your doctor because standard labs don't pick up on this pattern and they actually often appear, quote, normal. This is a pattern that actually involves cortisol and stress response dysregulation that is deeper than chronic stress and fatigue. It can completely shift how people experience energy, focus, resilience, and sleep quality. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what's often called adrenal fatigue, but what's actually happening physiologically in terms of the HPA or hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and why so many people feel dismissed when their labs come back as normal. And more importantly, I'm going to highlight what you can actually do about it in naturopathic and functional medicine. Hi, friends. If you are new, my name is Dr. Sarah LoBisco. I am a naturopathic and functional medicine doctor that has been in practice for nearly 20 years. I specialize in brain health, in gut health, in women's health, and a large part of my work focuses on helping people recover from burnout patterns, chronic stress physiology, and nervous system dysregulation. A lot of what I'll be talking about today is also the foundation of what I work through in my brain health reset program, where we focus on restoring regulation across the brain, hormones, and stress response systems. So, first, let's talk about this term adrenal fatigue. You've probably heard of it. It's widely used in wellness spaces, but in conventional medicine, it's debated and not officially recognized as a diagnosis. But here's where I think we need to slow down a little bit. Even if the term itself is debated, the physiology people are describing is very real in clinical practice. What I see is just not fatigue, it's the stress response regulation issue. The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis describes how these three endocrine organs communicate through a feedback loop, and it links the central nervous system to the endocrine system. It regulates the balance of hormones in the body and affects our stress, cortisol, and daily energy rhythms. So that's what we're referring to when we talk about dysregulation of the HPA axis. Now, one of the most important distinctions between true adrenal insufficiency and functional low cortisol patterns is important because true adrenal insufficiency is a medical condition that is diagnosable, and it's where cortisol production is impaired. This is not what I'm referring to. What I'm talking about is a functional pattern where the stress response system is still working, but it's no longer flexible, rhythmic, or appropriately responsive over time. And this is where people often get missed clinically because standard testing often doesn't show this nuance. So, what does this look like in real life? It's not just tired. It's a cluster of symptom patterns, as I discussed. There's low morning energy even after sleep. There's afternoon energy crashes. There's brain fog or reduced focus. People that feel depleted even after simple tasks. And sometimes they get a second wind when their system should be actually winding down. And that timing piece is actually very important clinically because it tells us about regulation, not just energy. And it's often missed on labs because when doctors measure cortisol, it's usually just a snippet in time and it's not meant to be interpreted in one single number. Cortisol follows a rhythm. So when we only measure one point in time, we can miss the entire pattern. This is one of the reasons people often feel dismissed because their lived experience doesn't match their lab values in a single snapshot. And this is exactly where more comprehensive approaches, like what I use in my brain health reset program, help us zoom out and look at the full picture of the nervous system and hormone rhythm regulation. Measuring cortisol patterns naturally leads into how we can actually assess the problem more deeply and treat it accordingly in naturopathic and functional medicine style. This is often through using a rhythm and CAR test. This includes an adrenal cortex stress profile, the cortisol awakening response, so you'll take cortisol right when you wake up, and then a comprehensive melatonin profile. You'll also look at cortisol metabolites in the urine. Now, why does this pattern develop where there's a cortisol dysregulation and an overall, say, a low cortisol pattern or patterns where the cortisol is dysregulated? Common contributors that I often see in practice are chronic stress load over time, sleep disruptions in general, or circadian rhythm mismatch. Sometimes night workers are working the night shift, blood sugar instability. A lot of people aren't fueling their bodies effectively. There's an inflammatory load, there's nervous system overactivation. But of course, there are additional physiological and foundational lifestyle factors that are related to the individual and interact with these common drivers and the HPA axis to shape how this cortisol is produced and how it rises and falls throughout the day. So now that we know about this pattern and maybe you're relating to some of these symptom clusters, what do we do about it? How does naturopathic and functional medicine treat it? Well, the goal isn't to fix cortisol and adrenals and get a perfect lab number. We want to actually restore regulation. We want to help the system become more adaptive again. So in clinical practice and in my brain reset program, that often includes rebuilding circadian rhythm signaling, stabilizing blood sugar with protein and meal timing strategies. Often we're going to support vagal tone and parasympathetic activation. Essential oils are really good for this. Targeted nutrients, especially magnesium, B vitamins, and omega-3s are important for regulating your nervous system and stress response. Adaptogenic herbs. These are herbs that actually help the body do what it kind of sounds like, adapt to stress. Some of the most famous ones right now are ashwagandha or holy basil or rhodiola. And of course, knowing me, I'm also going to want to implement aromatherapy as a clinically useful tool because of the way that it handles nervous system regulation. And essential oils directly influence the limbic system signaling. And this actually influences stress at the level of perception and its response patterns. In fact, common oils like lavender or bergamot can actually meaningfully shift stress physiology and have been shown to modulate cortisol levels. Now, the key foundation here is actually recognizing the pattern of cortisol and going from there for your best treatment. Because without that, we're just guessing where your cortisol levels are. And you could end up at the wrong end of the cortisol rhythm pattern and supporting the wrong thing. So, one of the main takeaways is this. These patterns are not random. They're not something to dismiss because conventional labs fail to recognize them and they fall within the quote normal range. They're part of a broader stress response that should be addressed, and they can absolutely be understood and supported when we look at physiology in the context of what you're experiencing. You shouldn't have to go through life feeling lousy. These are signals that your body needs support. Now, if you want to go deeper and you want to access my brain reset program, I will be joined with a renowned expert in this program, and we will provide practical ways to support mental clarity, emotional resilience, and overall cognitive wellness in a group setting. So not everyone can get to a naturopathic or functional medicine doctor, and this is a great way to get your foundations in place. There will be actionable and personalized approaches to reset your brain and body in a step-by-step process. I also have additional resources on my website if you want to explore my work further. And you can also access the detailed article that goes along with this video if you want more information and to dive in even more deeper. I want to say in closing that I really appreciate you being here and spending time with me and empowering yourself with your health. It truly means a lot to share this work with you. And if you could do me a favor, pass on this video, give it a like if you like what you've heard here, give me some feedback. It means more than you will know. Take gentle care, and I'll see you in the next video.